Hello, Chris here. I'm in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama, and I must be on some kind of crazy tour for the Aloft Hotels because I'm at an Aloft. And like I said, beautiful Birmingham. We can get can you see the background there? As usual, only the best rooms for me. So, so this, um, so this, additional content from the book is about elevator pitch. Now, just to reiterate, your elevator pitch should be so compelling, and you have to work on your elevator pitch to make it so compelling that when you say what you have to say about your product or offering to somebody, and they only need to have one response with your pitch, which is, how do you do that? Or that's really interesting, I'd like to know more. Some version of let's start a conversation. Otherwise, if your elevator pitch is giving them too much information, two things can happen. One is they can get very confused about what you're doing. This is very typical with entrepreneurs. And two, not only can they get confused, but you actually can give them enough information to self-select out when you haven't had a chance to explain yourself. So with your elevator pitch, it's got to really be compelling to the point where someone says, how do you do that? Now, one of my elevator pitches for AvidXchange, it's pretty simple. I just say, my name is Chris Elmore. We're an accounts payable automator, which means no paper invoices and no paper checks. By the way, I know that's really hard to believe, no paper invoices, no paper checks. But the thing about our offering is it doesn't work for everyone. Now, the people that it works for, it's really interesting because it has a tendency to create somewhere around 8,000 additional hours within the accounting department. And the fascinating thing about what we do at AvidXchange is because of our payment process, it has a tendency, the payment process has a tendency to pay for the whole thing. So typically, there's very little money out of pocket. That's my pitch. Now, as compelling as I think that is, that doesn't get everybody. But there's a couple of places in that pitch that can create those, well, how do you do that? And one is around no paper invoices and no paper checks. And the other is around the fact that it has a tendency to pay for itself because of the payment process. And then the third thing is the 8,000 hours. So those are three triggers that I count on to get the response that I'm looking for, which is, how in the world do you do that? Now, the thing is this, once they say, how in the world do you do that? Don't tell them. That would be disastrous. Don't tell them. But set up some time so where you and that person can have a conversation about it. You know, maybe even show them your offering or some kind of demonstration. You can see in the section about demoing where it takes it one step further and really kind of explains what's going on. So once your elevator pitch gets the thing you want, which is someone saying, how in the world do you do that? Don't tell them. Find the time, sit down, and go through it so you can really get them educated and motivated about what you're doing. And lastly, I think it's important to point out that if they don't say, how in the world do you do that? They're just not interested. That doesn't mean that in the future they won't be interested and you should stay in contact with them. But it does mean at the moment, they're just not really into it. So don't start doing things like, what are you, stupid? Are you crazy? Or next stop I'm gonna do is go to your competition and tell them and you're gonna be sorry. Don't do any of that stuff. Just be real cool about it. There'll be another time and place that you'll have a similar opportunity, and maybe at that point the interest will be a little higher. All right, Chris here. Thanks for taking a look at this additional content. Thanks for buying and consuming the book. Thanks just for being you. I don't feel like saying that for some reason.